absolutely. Yeah, like some of the best times I've ever.
One thing I do kind of want to talk about is your Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, jiu-jitsu. Nice.
Yeah.
Love that word, jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to say it at first.
Really?
Jiu-jitsu. Yeah, it was
For
kind
years,
of a tongue twister.
I thought it started with a G for some
Jiu-jitsu.
reason for years.
Yeah.
I didn't know it started with a J.
J-U-I.
I just
J-U-I.
assumed it was started with a G for some reason.
But you recently got back into that. You used to do
J-I-U.
when you were living up in Half Moon Bay.
It's J-U-I.
You were,
is it J-U-I? No, it's J-U-I, yeah.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, I'm tripping out about this. Let me just write this down real quick.
Yeah, I'm not too positive how to spell.
By the way, is jiu-jitsu, is that a Portuguese word?
I'm not sure if we're supposed to spell this out because it's hard to spell.
Yeah, it's J-I-U, jiu-jitsu.
J-I-U? Is that a
J-I-U.
Portuguese word because it came from Brazil or something? Or is it Japanese?
Jewish.
Or?
Actually,
not
I think
Japanese.
originally came from Japan, and then the Japanese brought it to Brazil, who then brought it to America. You have the Gracies, and they brought it over here, from my understanding, yeah. But yeah, man.
But yeah, you used to do competitions, right? You used to
Yeah.
compete.
Oh man. Yes. Yeah. So when I first started, 4 months into learning, I entered a competition. 4
Okay.
months as a white belt. No. Yeah. 4 months training. I was training. I was coming in maybe twice a day. I had a lot of energy and
Coming in training.
coming in to train. Yeah. We
How,
had.
how old were you at the time?
I want to say I was maybe 20. I think I was 20.
Okay.
But I had a lot of energy. So, yeah, competed, got my ass kicked. I think I lost 18-0. I think, like as far as points are concerned,
Yeah.
Is there a maximum amount of points?
How does the
as many as you want, really.
how does the point
okay.
system work?
Well, all right. So, I think if I can put it simply for people who don't quite know, you get points for positions. Okay, so if you're on top, you're in a dominant position, you get points for that. Also, if you can change from one point to another point, you get positions. Or you get, from one position to another position, you get points.
So it's not really like a tapping out thing. Like if
Well, I mean, that
say-
is. So
say-
if someone
say
taps
you're-
out, that's it. You
Okay.
win. You automatically win.
And is there a point where like you get someone pinned?
Yeah, so if you have them in side
that's
control.
another automatic win.
No. So
No.
unlike wrestling, where if you get them on their back for more than a couple seconds, that counts, I believe, as a point or as a win.
Okay.
But I've actually never learned wrestling. I never did wrestling growing up. I just did jiu-jitsu, and I've been against wrestlers, thinking I could do that too. But it's just a whole different game.
Okay.
Wait, so the points, so it's as many points as, is there a time limit on a match?
Yeah. So normally they go about 5 minutes. Yeah,
So-
5 minutes.
Okay,
So
so whoever's
say-
got most points or taps out.
Yeah, so it could go as long as it wants, and then you could win on points, or it could go on for 30 seconds, and you submit them, and then that's the win.
So a guy could literally be like kicking your ass throughout the whole start of the game.
Yeah.
Or the match.
He could be on top the whole time, and then at the last 30 seconds, I actually got a guy with an Ezekiel, and I think it was about 30 seconds left of the match, left of the the match, and I'm on top, and I have my Ezekiel. I started, and that's when you get your arm under their neck, and
Okay.
then you tie your fingers into your own lapel, and then the hand in the other lapel goes over their neck, and you kind of push on them. I was on top, and 30 seconds left. He sweeps me, and a sweep is when they go from underneath you to on top of you. That's a sweep.
Okay.
And I remember hearing Raul Castillo. He was my my professor. He was pissed. He was like, no, don't lose that position. Just pumped up.
he got sweet.
And all I knew in my head was, I can't let this go. I can't let this grip go. So I just kept pulling. And eventually I seen his eyes kind of turn up into his head. And, yeah, he was out. And I kind of turned him over. He kind of like, what do you call that, convulses, I guess? That's the word.
Yeah.
And, walk out. And then
Waking
I
up.
won. Yeah, waking up.
Waking
exactly.
Up, he starts waking up.
But that was actually the move that he got my other buddy with Steven, who later joined in jiu-jitsu, and
It's
this-
called an Ezekiel, or is he
Ezekiel,
Ezekiel
yeah.
is what you did to him, or was
yeah, exactly. But
Okay.
this guy that I did that to, he did that to Steven, to my buddy.
Okay.
And I told him right before, hey, I'm going to get him with this. I'm going to get him back for you.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
ended
yeah.
up working out awesome. But that, yeah, jiu-jitsu, man. I
Wait, do you
always
do-
tell people to do that.
Do you do multiple matches how's that work? Is
Yeah.
it one match per day, or is it
No, so you have a whole
before
day.
lunch, after lunch, or what?
No, so you have a whole day. There's like brackets. It's pretty much like any tournament. You have pool, whatever. You have to go against people, and if people lose, then they leave, and then you go against the winners, and eventually the better person is on top. Gold. You get gold, silver, and bronze. All that stuff.
So it more matters of your whole overall performance rather than like how you start or finish.
Absolutely. Well,
Well, because
for
by the end
me-
of the day, if you get far enough, you're both going to be a little tired, so it's stamina too. No?
well, absolutely.
Like if a guy's on top for like almost the whole match, and then you
Absolutely.
eventually break out of it and get on top, and finish off when the what do you call it, the round, when the round
yeah,
is,
the match or whatever. Yeah.
when the match is over and you're on top at the end and you have him pinned and you never tapped out, the guy who is now at the end on bottom, he would still win because he got more points than you.
If he did not tap out,
Yeah.
then yes, he would still win. If he did tap out and you were on top and he had more points than you,
Mm-hmm.
you
He
would win.
loses.
You would win if he tapped out.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you could be up 18 points, and if
So it's all about points.
yes, it's sport jiu-jitsu.
Points,
There's
or
two
you
types
make
of
them
jiu-jitsu.
tap out, so the points don't mean nothing.
I have friends who I have actually a good buddy, and he told me once, I drill to kill.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two mindsets to that. There's actually three mindsets
There's so many sexual
that you
jokes I
see
can
in
make 'em.
jiu-jitsu. Yeah, not really though. There's three mindsets to jiu-jitsu, and the ones I've noticed more are hobbyists. Guys who just like to go maybe 2 times a week. Maybe 3, maybe 4 times, 5 times a week.
Yeah.
But they have no interest in competing. They have no interest in getting to that level. They just like to do it. It's a good workout, and that's all the power to them. The second mindset would be competing. And that is, I'm training to compete. I'm training to go against guys who are athletically just
Competitive
powerhouses.
and-
Very competitive. It brings it to a whole nother level. You could have a purple belt competitor, and if you put him against maybe even a brown or black belt hobbyist who's just done it for fun, more than likely that competitor's going to win, in an actual match.
Yeah.
Do most black belts or whatever higher up belts is it pretty consistent that they're known for competing, or what?
Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. If you're young and you have that drive, absolutely.
But is
I
it
always
rare
tell
to
people
meet
to compete.
is it rare to meet a black belt who does not compete?
I wouldn't say so. I think guys, it's just whatever they want to do, really.
It's kind of mixed. Whatever.
But the last mindset is, you learn jiu-jitsu for the streets, for actual self-defense. And self-defense jiu-jitsu, it's a little bit different than competition jiu-jitsu. But nowadays, you go to a lot of schools where they're teaching you, hey, you can't do wrist locks because they're illegal in the competitions. But in the streets, you want to know all that stuff because there's
That's
no rules.
interesting.
So that's what you were kind of getting at when you said there was 2 different types of jiu-jitsu.
Yes. Yeah, the competition side and also the self-defense side.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the jiu-jitsu that you would take and compete with versus the jiu-jitsu that you would actually that's actually jiu-jitsu, like in its whole, versus what it's cut down to as far as like regulations.
So it all works the same. The stuff I learned, I could do on anybody relatively easily, like depending on if they had any training. Generally it would work. But if
or if
you
they
go
were wasted and you're sober.
but if you go
or
to a school
depending.
and they don't teach you, say, let's see a move, say leg locks, right? They don't teach you that because at blue belt level, you can't do them in a tournament, so they're not going to teach you that.
Why
But
not?
because it's illegal in a tournament,
But what's the reasoning they make it illegal? Just
because it's just dangerous for blue belts to
Oh.
do that. They have a lot. So in jiu-jitsu, for people who are listening, you have 5 belts. You have white belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, and black belt. And so in a competition, these belts, it's you ever paid more for something and there's different options for payment and you get a little bit more for if you pay more.
Like the basic.
Yeah, like the basic pass it,
the medium,
bacon,
premium,
all the packages. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. So as a white belt,
On
you
Tinder?
can do a few things. As a blue belt, you can do a few more things.
Mm-hmm.
As a purple belt, you can do a lot more things. And as a black belt, you pretty much have everything open to you.
You're gonna beat that fucking ass.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I got you. So they
as
allow
a
certain
you know
things for
when you're a
different
blue
belts.
belt, sometimes they tell you, hey, you can't do this in competition, so we're not going to focus on that. But I believe that you should learn everything. You should be able to do ankle locks, wrist locks, leg locks, everything.
Yeah.
You know.
For self-defense. Or
Absolutely
whatever.
for self-defense, but then know that there are certain things you can't do in a competition. I think that's one of
Right,
the distinctions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happens if you do something like that in a competition? Is that immediate
It's
disqualified?
just disqualified. Like slams. After the initial takedown, you cannot slam your opponent again, which is actually pretty funny, I think. If
So-
you get up again,
So a slam would be.
a slam would be just picking them up and slamming them on the ground.
So if you can do that once.
You can do that once
and
for the
then you
takedown
guys
because you guys
scrap, and
you
then
both
if you get
start.
back up, you can't do it again.
You cannot do it again. No.
Huh.
And so it starts from the takedown. The takedown, you can get him down as rough as you want.
Right.
But once you get back up again, you can't do that slam again, which is interesting.
That's
If the
interesting.
competitor gets up,
If you guys both get up, you can't slam him again.
what if you don't get? Well, I guess you would get up.
So
'cause
then, what do you do in that instance where both people are up?
Well, so you have a lot of people who are called guard pullers, and those are pretty much people who generally sit down, and they pretty much get themselves back on the ground, and then people kind of, there's in the community there's a little bit of a, I guess.
People are some are okay with it and some
yeah,
are not.
Yeah, exactly.
gotcha.
Because you're a guard puller, so you automatically go down. So and then you work your ground game or whatever game you have. I prefer not to do that. I prefer to do drags. You can drag them down, you can pull them down, anything like that, but you just can't slam them down. And there's a big difference between something that's intentionally and something that's accidentally
So are when you both are standing up, after
Which
after
the judges
first
can
slam,
tell accidental, someone trips or whatever.
generally
They kind of.
yeah.
So if both you guys are standing up after the first slam, you can drag someone down.
You can drag them down. Yeah, you can pull them down, drag them down.
Just can't slam them twice.
And it can be a rough drag. Yeah, it could, you guys are going to land pretty rough, I think. But
Now, is there any combat where you guys are both standing up that you can do? Or do you have to pretty much get someone on the ground?
No, you have to. I mean, you could get them in a headlock. You could get them in a Americana, Kimura from standing.
And then
But you can't strike. There's no striking in Jiu-Jitsu, which is funny because some people refer to Jiu-Jitsu matches as fights, but they're not fights. No one's
hitting.
striking, no one's hitting anybody. It's just wrestling. It's just grappling. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, and I think most people do know that, but some people.
Is that the same rules with judo? Because judo's got a lot of.
Judo
smack
is all about
drop.
takedowns. So if you take someone down in judo, you start again. It's all about the takedown.
Yeah.
So you can go to the ground. They have a few things that jiu-jitsu ties into.
Right.
But then once you're on the ground and you get that point, you start back up again. Because
Oh.
So,
that's kind of interesting.
the three main ones, right? There's jiu-jitsu, judo, and wrestling. So wrestling is keeping them on the ground, keeping them on the ground, submitting them, right?
Right.
Judo is getting them to the ground. And then jiu-jitsu is everything you do on the ground,
Okay.
And then wrestling is to the ground, but a pin. As
Yeah,
opposed
it's
to
a pinning them to the
submission.
ground,
And
yeah.
do you know much about MMA?
A little bit,
So is MMA like a combination of all these different
Yeah.
martial arts
So
to
mixed
create?
martial arts, yeah, absolutely. You have a lot of different things going on. You have guys who are good at striking, boxing. You have Muay Thai.
Yeah.
That's a really I did that with my buddy Steven, actually. We did some Muay Thai at Raul Castillo Martial Arts in Half Bay.
Is there any martial art that they're not allowed to do in MMA? That they're like
Maybe Krav Maga, I would say. Krav Maga is more like
Just-
groin kicking, hair
Ooh.
pulling, stuff like
Chicks
un-
that
They're
shit
like,
do.
we're not having that.
Things that chicks do.
Yeah,
Um,
the unconventional
having that.
kind of.
actually, they have a lot of soldiers that know Krav Maga. They
Yeah,
use that
that's
because it's really deadly.
Israeli. Isn't
It is- it is-
Israeli commando
it's-
meant for.
It's for
battle?
survival.
Yeah.
Krav Maga is eye gouging, groin kicking,
Like
kneeing.
survivalist
it's-
shit.
It's just if you want to actually end your opponent, that's what you use.
Yikes.
And
Right. So
yeah.
they teach soldiers and shit that.
They teach soldiers that. They teach women that. Because it's really. You don't need
there-
much strength to kick a guy in the nuts, and he'll go
Right.
down,
No,
right?
no,
I mean,
no, not at
I
all.
think anyone here
Pretty
has
much
been
fucked after
yeah,
that.
anyone here
That's
has been
one
kicked
of
in the
the
nuts.
worst
You kick me in the
pains.
nuts, I'm done.
Yeah.
You can kick them
Drops.
pretty lightly.
Yeah.
And it's game
Bitch
over.
could kill me.
Yeah, you can just flick and it's gonna.
Or a
Yeah.
poke in the
Oh.
eye.
Yeah,
You're gonna have
literally a flick.
yeah, you're gonna have watery eyes. You're
Yeah.
gonna be down for and
My
so.
nuts are hurting for
the
like 2
lower
days.
stomach pain when it
Ugh.
creeps in.
But
and-
even you watch the UFC fights or Bellator. I mean, there's still basic rules.
Bellator?
You can't. Yeah, Bellator is another fighting. What do you call it? Like a fighting
League?
Yeah, I guess you could say.
Oh, I've never
But
heard
yeah, even in fighting like that, there's no groin kicks. There's no eye gouging. There's no biting. There's still
yeah, you can't have that.
there's
shit.
still basic rules, which some people, I think, people want to say, yeah, if you're really good at UFC, you could win a fight. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think if you're in the streets in a bar, you could have one of the best UFC fighters ever and throw a chair on his head, and you've won that fight essentially.
Yeah.
And so there's that whole distinction. There's rules in UFC and fighting.
Whether
in
you're
jiu-jitsu and
tired,
tournaments,
you're
there's a
expecting
referee.
It, sucker punch.
There's a referee. So in real life, there's no referee. There's dirty moves. Everything goes, and you're fighting for your life in real life. So I
Right.
think there's that too. I think it's clear to make that distinction.
That's fair enough.
Isn't there
Yeah.
one more martial art that's not allowed in UFC or MMA?
If there is, I right
Krav
now off my
Maga,
head, I don't know.
I feel like I looked it up.
There's capoeira. Some guys use capoeira. Capoeira.
What's that one?
So that's
It's a beautiful dance.
It's a dance, and it was actually banned from the political side of people. I forget where, but people were learning to fight through dancing.
Brazil.
Brazil
Yeah.
that was in Brazil.
Brazil.
Yeah. Okay.
You can't do that
My
one
bad.
in MMA or UFC?
No, I mean you can. Guys do it in UFC. They'll go down and they'll do the high leg kick and.
Oh, the one I was thinking of was Kung Fu. I was looking that up,
Chinese.
and it was a similar thing. Yeah.
See,
but-
and then
But they said Kung Fu was similar in terms of like you meant to like really hurt them.
yeah. So you get into that other realm of martial arts,
Right.
like Wing Chun or Kung Fu or Taekwondo, where they do have their competitions, but against some of these other martial arts,
Mhm.
they prove to be a little bit less effective.
Huh.
To put politely.
Well, it seems like more of a art.
Yeah, because there's also martial arts where,
how
you,
great
you
of a
work on your
form
breathing. It's
can
like
it
it's like
be,
archery, like
or-
hunting,
Yeah.
like target shooting. Like you're working on your breathing. If you ever done free diving, you just feel so like euphoric afterwards because you've just been breathing really well, and your mind is just flowing with good oxygen.
Right.
Your brain is just getting fueled. So there's martial arts for that too. Where you ever walk in the park and you see people doing the like those form Tai Chi, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that's great for the mind. It's great for the mind. It's mental. It's mental martial arts. Yeah.
As
Interesting.
opposed to like violence.
As opposed to violence
As
and
opposed to eye gouging.
just eye gouging and dick punches.
Dick
Yes.
punches
Dick
and
twists.
eye gouges.
Yes.
Twist his dick.
Twist his dick.
Rip his dick off.
Wait, where was that? Wait, was that
The
guy?
old dick twist.
I saw a video on that somewhere, like YouTube or Instagram, where some guy was yelling that, and the audience was like, "Grab his dick and twist it." And people
You know-
were like, "Hey, what the
Yikes.
fuck?"
Honestly
that's
though,
gnarly.
if
That's
I
gnarly.
if I could recommend one thing for anybody, I would definitely recommend martial arts. Though I mean, as a whole, it makes you clear. When you're young, you have a lot of energy, you have a lot of anger. Sometimes things go on in your life, and you need to have other options to to let those
Like an outlet.
like an out exactly
Yeah.
like an
Healthy outlet.
It was a healthy outlet, and especially when I started too. It was a pretty rough time in my life, and so that was the best outlet, better than surfing.
Yeah. It seems like a pretty good practice.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a good place to kind of
Well,
leave
some
this
peop-
off on.
Some people go to
exactly.
meth, you know, it may be
Yeah.
better just to get
Well,
some
that's-
jiu-jitsu.
that's
you
true.
know? I mean,
That's when you drive
I
by
never
and you
heard
go,
a
"That
I never
sucks."
heard a great story from meth. Jiu-jitsu, I hear nothing but positives.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a great note to kind of leave this
Yikes.
off on.
Yeah.
For sure.
Don't do drugs.
Yeah. Don't do drugs. Do martial arts.
Yeah. Save the dick punches for if you
Computer's
get jumped
running
in the
outta-
street.
Yeah.
We're out of batteries.
Yeah.
No, that was cool. I never. Yeah, I'm glad you explained the tournament thing. I never understood it, so that was.
Yeah. No, that's definitely.
Yeah, they gave
It's
me
good
a
to hear
solid-
different like
'cause
aspects.
I don't
of it.
know really. I know like
Yeah, honestly.
less
it's
Yeah,
than a beginner.
because when you hear about it, you don't really. You kind of know what it is like fighting, but you don't really know like in depth.
yeah, I didn't know the
I kinda
point system.
Remember seeing like fighting, UFC, and thinking like, whoa, I wonder what those guys do, and then in kind of like the back part of like social media or whatever you see them doing, there's like, oh, what are these guys in these kimonos, like what are these guys doing like in this tournament, and that is the kind of the underbelly of jiu-jitsu, of the fighting scene. It's like these are the guys that's like the foundation of the house, having a good foundation, and then whatever you do in the dark puts you in the light, essentially.
Yeah.
I like
So-
that.
That's definitely interesting. We'll have to go more
Yeah,
into
we'll come back
depth
to that.
about
Oh, we do. 'Cause
about this in a later.
Eventually, I want to get into talking about that when it first started. Later in the next one, maybe or
Yeah.
whatever, about how they didn't like.
Yeah, we have
well,
some
we'll
real
talk
martial
about
arts right
that
here.
one
We got
later.
some-
Yeah,
See,
no,
already
I-
I'm about
I-
to get going.
I think this is a good stopping point. A good time
Yeah,
to take
hell
a
yeah.
little break.
Little break, yeah,
Yeah.
little food break.
But yeah, we definitely talked about quite a range of stuff here
Yeah, we did
for sure.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
we'll
Right on, guys.
we'll wrap this one up and we'll circle back to it later here.